In recent months, one of the most unusual technological intrigues of recent years has begun to form around Tesla. It all started after Elon Musk once again hinted in an interview that the company is working on a next-generation transportation system capable of changing humanity's perception of urban mobility as radically as the Model S once transformed the electric vehicle market and Starlink revolutionized satellite internet. At the time, many people dismissed these remarks as just another bold statement from the billionaire, something he has become famous for over the years. However, the situation now looks very different. More and more information is beginning to leak from within the company, and some analysts and industry insiders are convinced that Tesla is genuinely preparing to unveil the first prototype of the most ambitious transportation project in the company's history. This is not simply about a new car. It is not even just about a new Robotaxi. According to numerous rumors, Tesla is actively developing a flying version of the Cybercab, which has allegedly been given the internal name SkyCub. If this information turns out to be even partially accurate, humanity may be on the verge of seeing the first mass-market autonomous flying taxi created by a company that has already demonstrated its ability to turn science fiction into a commercial product. Interestingly, the first discussions about such a project appeared several years ago. At that time, Elon Musk cautiously acknowledged that the concept of a flying car seemed interesting to him, but existing battery technology did not allow for a sufficiently safe and efficient solution. The primary challenge remained battery energy density. A vehicle that must not only drive, but also take flight, requires an entirely different level of battery efficiency. Every additional kilogram of battery weight requires greater lift, which in turn increases energy consumption. But over the past few years, the situation has begun to change rapidly. Tesla has been investing heavily in new generations of batteries. Production of 4680 cells continues to scale up. At the same time, the company is working on dry electrode technology, improving energy density, and reducing the weight of battery packs. Some analysts believe that these advances may have provided the technological foundation Tesla needed to launch the SkyCab project. Additional interest comes from the fact that Tesla has increasingly been mentioned alongside the eVTOL industry in recent months, electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Many experts consider such vehicles to be the future of urban mobility. Today, dozens of companies around the world are developing similar projects. However, most of them are creating purely aerial transportation. Tesla, according to the rumors, wants to go much further and combine the capabilities of a car and an aircraft into a single vehicle. Imagine a typical morning in a future megacity. Millions of people are commuting to work. Roads are overloaded. Traffic jams stretch for dozens of kilometers. But instead of sitting in a sea of cars, a passenger summons a SkyCab through the Tesla app. Within minutes, a compact autonomous taxi arrives at the house. For several kilometers, it travels on ordinary roads, then leaves a designated traffic corridor, activates its vertical takeoff system, and rises above the city. 10 minutes later, the passenger is already on the opposite side of the metropolitan area. This is precisely the vision of the future that analysts increasingly describe when discussing Tesla's potential project. Particular attention has been drawn to reports from insiders who claim that Tesla is already testing a number of technologies required for such a vehicle. These reports focus primarily on artificial intelligence and autonomous control systems. Many experts believe that this is where the company holds a tremendous advantage over its competitors. While a conventional aircraft requires a trained pilot, the SkyCab is reportedly intended to be completely autonomous. According to some rumors, the control system will be based on the next generation of full self-driving technology. In essence, the artificial intelligence will simultaneously perform the roles of both a vehicle driver and an aircraft pilot. To achieve this, it will need to process enormous volumes of data in real time. Cameras, next-generation LiDAR systems, radar sensors, satellite navigation, Starlink connectivity, and the computing power of Tesla's future AI chips will all have to function as a single unified organism. Particularly intriguing are the rumors suggesting that the SkyCab project may utilize Starlink infrastructure. While a conventional vehicle makes decisions locally, a future flying taxi could receive additional information from a global satellite network. This would make it possible to coordinate the movement of thousands of aircraft simultaneously and minimize the risk of collisions. Some insiders claim that Tesla is considering the concept of aerial corridors. Similar to road networks for automobiles, special routes could appear in the sky along which autonomous taxis would travel. Artificial intelligence would continuously calculate optimal flight paths, avoiding bad weather, heavy air traffic, and other obstacles. But perhaps the most fascinating question concerns the possible appearance of the SkyCub itself. Here, the rumors diverge. Some sources claim that the aircraft will resemble an enlarged version of the Supercab with integrated electric rotors. Others speak of a completely new design inspired by futuristic aviation concepts. Some even speculate about folding wings that would automatically deploy during flight and retract after landing. If Tesla truly unveils such a vehicle, its specifications could become one of the biggest technological sensations of the decade. According to preliminary estimates from analysts, the ground driving range could reach approximately 500 to 700 kilometers, while flight range could extend to 250 to 400 kilometers, depending on payload and weather conditions. At the same time, road performance would remain comparable to modern Tesla electric vehicles, while airspeed could potentially exceed 250 kilometers per hour. This would mean that travel between major cities could be reduced dramatically compared with traditional automobile transportation. That is why many analysts are already describing the SkyCub project as potentially Tesla's most revolutionary product since the arrival of the Model S. If electric vehicles transformed the automotive industry, autonomous flying taxis could fundamentally redefine the very concept of transportation. And the more rumors emerge around the project, the stronger the impression becomes that Tesla may indeed be preparing to show the world something far more significant than just another new car. If we look closely at Tesla's recent actions, it becomes apparent that the company is gradually assembling nearly every technological component required to create such a transportation system. Many investors traditionally view Tesla as an automaker, but the company itself has long been attempting to move far beyond the automotive industry. Today, Tesla is simultaneously involved in artificial intelligence, robotics, energy systems, battery technology, supercomputers for neural network training, and even indirectly participates in the development of global satellite infrastructure through Elon Musk's close connection with SpaceX. When analysts put all of these pieces together, a picture begins to emerge in which the SkyCub project no longer appears as fantastical as it did a few years ago. Of particular interest is the question of how such a vehicle would be charged. Many skeptics immediately ask, if a modern electric vehicle requires dozens of kilowatt-hours of energy for ground transportation, how much energy would be needed for a machine that must also take flight? According to estimates from some aerospace engineers, takeoff is by far the most energy-intensive phase of flight. However, once altitude is gained, energy consumption can decrease significantly, especially if the design uses aerodynamic surfaces and gliding elements. According to rumors, Tesla may be using a new generation of batteries that has not yet been officially unveiled to the public. Some sources claim that the company is experimenting with higher energy density battery packs that would increase range without significantly increasing the vehicle's weight. If that is true, SkyCub could become the first mass-market aircraft capable of completing dozens of short urban flights without recharging. It is also interesting that Tesla already operates the largest fast-charging network in the world. Some analysts speculate that future supercharger stations could include dedicated aerial terminals. Imagine a massive Tesla facility of the future. On the lower level are conventional charging stations for cars. On the upper platform are landing pads for SkyCub vehicles. After landing, the aircraft automatically connects to a next-generation ultra-fast charging system and is ready to fly again within minutes. Safety is another topic that deserves special attention. Many experts consider safety the biggest obstacle to the widespread adoption of flying vehicles. If an engine failure on the road usually results in a vehicle stopping, the consequences in the air can be far more serious. That is why, according to rumors, Tesla is considering multiple layers of redundancy for all critical systems. According to some reports, SkyCub could feature several independent electric motors. Even if one or more of them fail, the aircraft would still be able to safely complete its flight and land. In addition, some sources claim that Tesla is exploring the possibility of integrating a full vehicle parachute system. In an emergency, a special ballistic parachute could automatically deploy and reduce the vehicle's descent speed. Another fascinating topic is the potential price of such a vehicle. Estimates vary dramatically. The most conservative analysts believe that the first versions of SkyCub could cost more than $200,000. However, Tesla supporters point out that the company has repeatedly demonstrated its ability to dramatically reduce the cost of new technologies once mass production begins. Electric vehicles were once considered toys for millionaires. Then Tesla introduced more affordable models that began competing with traditional automobiles. If history repeats itself, flying taxis could become accessible to a much broader audience just a few years after launch. Some investment banks are already modeling scenarios in which Tesla creates not just a new form of transportation, but an entirely new industry. According to their projections, the urban air mobility market could eventually be worth hundreds of billions of dollars annually. The reason is simple. Most major metropolitan areas are not gaining more land. Cities continue to grow vertically, populations keep increasing, and road infrastructure is becoming increasingly overloaded. At some point, humanity inevitably begins looking for additional space for moving people. That space is the sky. Interestingly, many experts compare the potential arrival of SkyCub to the emergence of smartphones in the late 2000s. Before the first modern smartphones appeared, people viewed phones primarily as devices for making calls. Then an entirely new category of products emerged and transformed the lives of billions of people. A similar transformation could occur in transportation. Today, most people view a car as a vehicle that travels on roads. But if a form of transportation emerges that can move freely between roads and the sky, the very definition of an automobile will begin to change. Within a few decades, today's cars may be viewed much the way we view feature phones now. At the same time, many analysts believe that Tesla's most important product will not be a personal SkyCub, but rather an autonomous aerial transportation network. Imagine a future megacity. Instead of buying a flying car, a person simply opens the Tesla app. Artificial intelligence analyzes route congestion, weather conditions, air traffic, and instantly dispatches the nearest available SkyCub. The cost of the trip gradually falls thanks to the absence of a driver, extensive automation, and inexpensive electricity. Eventually, flying across an entire city could cost roughly the same as a taxi ride today. Many analysts consider this the most realistic scenario. At the same time, serious questions are emerging. One of the most difficult concerns is airspace regulation. Today, even drones face numerous restrictions in many countries. Launching thousands of flying taxis at scale would require an entirely new regulatory framework. Regulators would have to solve dozens of complex issues. Who would be responsible for accidents? How would an artificial intelligence system be certified as a pilot? What standards would apply to the software? How would airspace be protected from hacking? How would traffic be organized for thousands of aircraft operating simultaneously? Some specialists believe that regulatory barriers could slow the adoption of SkyCub more than any technical limitation. Even if Tesla unveiled a fully functional prototype tomorrow, the path to widespread commercial deployment could still take years. However, history shows that technological progress is rarely stopped permanently. When the first automobiles appeared, many cities banned them altogether. When the first airplanes appeared, many people dismissed them as dangerous toys. When the first autonomous cars appeared, experts claimed they would never be able to operate safely on ordinary roads. Today, most of those restrictions belong to the past. That is why more and more analysts are beginning to ask not whether autonomous flying taxis will eventually appear, but who will be the first to make them mainstream. And as more information emerges about the SkyCub project, Tesla is increasingly being named as the leading candidate. If the company truly succeeds in combining its advances in artificial intelligence, batteries, robotics, and autonomous control into a single product, the consequences could be enormous not only for Tesla itself, but for the entire global transportation industry. In that case, SkyCub would be more than a new vehicle. It could mark the beginning of an entirely new era of mobility, in which the boundary between an automobile and an aircraft gradually disappears. But perhaps the most interesting question is not whether Tesla will be able to build the first working SkyCab prototype. What is far more interesting is what happens after it appears. Because if even a fraction of the rumors prove true, the company could trigger a domino effect that impacts a vast number of industries around the world. Let's start with the real estate market. Today, housing prices are largely determined by transportation accessibility. Apartments near city centers are significantly more expensive precisely because they allow people to reach workplaces, universities, and business districts more quickly. But imagine a situation in which a flight from the suburbs to the center of a major city takes only 10 minutes. In that case, the traditional logic of the market could begin to change. Some analysts already suggest that the widespread adoption of aerial transportation could lead to the development of entirely new residential districts beyond major urban areas. People would be able to live much farther from city centers while still maintaining fast access to work. This would result in the creation of new transportation hubs, landing facilities, and an entire infrastructure that we can barely imagine today. Equally significant changes could occur in the tourism industry. Today, many tourist routes are limited by roads and railway infrastructure. However, a network of autonomous SkyCabs could directly connect thousands of remote destinations. A trip to a mountain resort, an island getaway, or a distant national park could become as simple as summoning autonomous transportation through an app. It is also interesting that such technology could potentially transform logistics. Although SkyCab is initially envisioned as a passenger vehicle, many experts believe Tesla could eventually develop a cargo variant. In essence, it would be an autonomous aerial truck capable of delivering goods much faster than traditional transportation methods. Imagine a Tesla warehouse of the future. Artificial intelligence receives an order. Optimus robots collect the merchandise. The cargo is then automatically loaded into an autonomous aircraft, which delivers it directly to the customer without any human involvement. Such a system could reduce delivery times from several hours to just a few dozen minutes. Another fascinating aspect is the likely reaction of competitors. If Tesla truly unveils a working SkyCab prototype, virtually every major automotive company in the world may be forced to accelerate its own development efforts. History has already demonstrated a similar pattern following Tesla's success in the electric vehicle market. Many traditional automakers initially failed to take electric vehicles seriously and later found themselves investing tens of billions of dollars in an effort to catch up. A similar situation could unfold again. The arrival of the first successful autonomous flying taxi could ignite an entirely new technological race. Companies would compete on flight range, charging speed, autonomy levels, and transportation costs. As a result, the pace of innovation across the industry could accelerate dramatically. Elon Musk has repeatedly stated that humanity stands on the verge of the most significant technological changes of the past century. Artificial intelligence, robotics, autonomous transportation, and new energy technologies are gradually converging into a single ecosystem. Many Tesla supporters believe that SkyCab could become one of the first products to demonstrate this ecosystem in action. It is therefore unsurprising that more and more rumors continue to emerge around the project. Some sources speak of closed-door testing of individual technologies. Others claim that Tesla is already assembling teams dedicated to future aerial infrastructure. Still others believe that the first prototype may be much closer to public unveiling than most observers assume. Of course, until the company officially confirms the existence of the SkyCab project, all such reports should be treated with caution. However, Tesla's own history shows that many of Elon Musk's ideas, which once seemed like pure science fiction, eventually became reality. Mass-market electric vehicles, reusable rockets, global satellite internet, and humanoid robots were all once considered far too ambitious. That is why today millions of people around the world are closely watching every hint, every statement, and every leak coming from Tesla. Because if even a fraction of the rumors turn out to be true, humanity may soon witness, for the first time, a form of transportation that can operate equally well on roads and in the air. And that is no longer just a new car or another corporate project. It is a potential candidate for the next generation of transportation, capable of reshaping how people perceive distance, time, and the very way we move across the world. This is precisely why rumors about SkyCub continue to generate such enormous interest. At this stage, no one outside Tesla knows how far the company has progressed in its development. It may still be years away from a complete product. The first prototype may turn out to be much simpler than fans expect, but one thing can already be said with confidence. If Tesla truly unveils an autonomous flying taxi that can not only fly but also drive on ordinary roads, it would mark a historic moment in technology. In the future, this current period of rumors, leaks, and insider reports will likely be remembered as the very beginning of a new transportation revolution.